Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The View, and oh boy, do we have a fireworks show for you today because things just went completely off the rails with our guest, the one and only Vin Diesel. It all started innocently enough when we brought Vin on to talk about the final chapter of Fast and Furious, family, loyalty, all the stuff he always says, but then Joy Behar, never one to hold back, decided today was the day she was going to challenge him on literally everything. The studio audience was buzzing. Whoopi was trying to keep order, Alyssa was nodding politely, Sunny was taking notes like this was a courtroom, and Sarah was just waiting for her moment. Van walked out in his classic black muscle shirt, grinning that Riddick grin, and the second he sat down Joy hit him with, "Van, let's be real, you keep saying a family but half your cast can't stand you behind the scenes. Especially after everything with Dwayne Johnson." The audience gasped so loud you could hear it in New Jersey. Van tried to laugh it off with that deep voice. "Joy, you know it's all love, we're a family, we fight, we make up." But Joy was not having it today, not one bit. She leaned forward, pointed her finger right at him and said, "No, Van, families don't subtweet each other for years and then pretend everything's fine when the box office needs it. You and The Rock had a very public feud. Charlize Theron reportedly rolled her eyes every time you improvised, and don't even get me started on the rumors that you made Michelle Rodriguez cry on set." At this point the control room was probably screaming into the producer's ears because the tension was thicker than Van's neck. Van's smile dropped for half a second, then came back twice as wide, the way only Vin Diesel can do, and he said, "Joy, you've been listening to too many clickbait articles. Everything you just said is tabloid fiction." That's when Joy lost it. She slapped the table so hard her coffee jumped and yelled, "Tabloid fiction, Van? I have sources. I have friends who worked on those movies." The audience was eating it up, half cheering, half stunned silent. Whoopi tried to jump in with okay, let's take a breath. But Joy steamrolled right over her like a 70 Charger through Tokyo traffic. Van started doing the thing where he talks really slow and intense like he's about to say "I am Groot" in 12 different languages, going, "Joy, I live my life a quarter mile at a time, and in that quarter mile I choose love, I choose respect, I choose it." And Joy cut him off screaming, "Stop quoting your own movies at me when I'm trying to have a real conversation." The studio erupted. People were standing up. Someone in the front row yelled, "Tell him, Joy." Van looked genuinely shocked because nobody, and I mean nobody, talks to Vin Diesel like that on a press tour. He put both hands up like he was surrendering and said, "Joy, I'm not the enemy here." But Joy was already in fifth gear. She went full New York on him. "You come here with your bald head and your muscles and your A family talk, but you treat people like disposable stunt cars the minute filming wraps." Sunny Hostin actually dropped her pen. Alyssa Farah Griffin's jaw was on the floor. Sarah Haynes looked like she was watching a live execution. Then Vin made the fatal mistake. He chuckled, yes, he chuckled, and said, "Joy, maybe if you got in a car and felt the speed, felt the need, you'd understand what real family feels like." Oh my God. The audience lost their minds. Joy stood up, yes, stood all the way up, and shouted, "Did you just tell me I need to risk my life in one of your death trap Dodger Chargers to understand basic human decency?" Whoopi was waving her hands trying to get security. Producers were running on stage, but Joy was on a mission. She grabbed the little red button under the desk, the one they swear doesn't actually stop the show, and slammed it like she was launching a nuclear missile. The red lights flashed, the emergency buzzer went off, and the feed cut to a graphic that said "Technical difficulties, please stand by," while you could still hear Joy in the background yelling, "We're done. We are done here today." Commercial break hit at the exact perfect moment of chaos. When we came back from break, 10 minutes later because they needed that long to calm everybody down, Van was gone. His chair was empty, just a black leather jacket draped over it like he vanished into the MCU. Whoopi came back alone looking like she'd aged 10 years and said, "Well, folks, sometimes the conversation gets a little too real here on The View." Our guest Vin Diesel had to leave unexpectedly for a broken bar scheduling reasons. The audience booed. They actually booed ABC. Joy walked back out last, lipstick perfect, not a hair out of place. sat down and said completely deadpan, "I stand by every word I said." Next topic. The applause was deafening. Social media exploded immediately. Joy vs. Van was trending worldwide within 6 minutes. Clips of Joy slamming the table were already turned into GIFs, and the Fast and Furious fandom split into civil war, half calling for Joy's head, half crowning her the new queen of daytime television. By the end of the show, Joy didn't apologize, didn't back down, didn't even acknowledge the empty chair. She just looked straight into the camera and said, "Sometimes family means having the tough conversations, even if the other person drives away in a souped-up muscle car and never comes back." The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted so long they had to cut to credits early. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Joy Behar stopped The View cold with one of the most legendary meltdowns in daytime history. Vin Diesel still hasn't commented. His team says he's focused on finishing the movie, but we all know the real final ride just happened live on national television, and Joy Behar just took the wheel, hit the nose, and left everybody in the dust. See you tomorrow, if we still have a show.